Rinpoche, Rinpoche, Lambo Rinpoche, Lambo Rinpoche, Lambo Rinpoche, Tajo Rinpoche, Mabe Rinpoche, Tejembe Pumba, Kia Ma, Chawa Ma, Leo Ma, Karama, Medo Ma, Dube Ma, Nasa Ma, Ticha Ma, Nima Dawa Rinpoche Do Chole Namba Gyawe Gyazanya Uzuladami Paja Punzun Soba Masawa Mepa Sanjin Yidu Wonwa Tida Tinchinsa Tangyu Va Chebe Balden Lama Tamba Namdan Kyeba Tuyan Yonzo Tembinga Dengye le du sene mete jeju lama losan tuwan toje chanjem. Ranjo na jo ma kandro sere ma rimbo je pe zambu shenga. Teba jembe zunje zamu lepa joe yandu shingan u agil. Teze drove dandu jesu Shenigan dazo drowa magyo nange tada nyambe senjen tamjela tuze wajem. Zajia impe ingi Joshi Eto Tran Nama Da Shi Para Ajo Jitsu Ma A Nama Tara Lava Chara Ava Ado Dam Gorana Nanda Gandhi Dayam
Sanjin Jedang Tsuji Chunang Lai Sanju Bardu Dani Jasuji Dagi Chi Chi Jivi Kono Jin Drolai Pin Sanjin Drwa Shu Sanjin Jedang Tsuji Chunang Lai Sanju Bardu Dani Jasuji Dagi Chishi Jive Sonamji Drolai Pinji Sanjin Drolai Shu Sanjin Chedam Soji Chunanam Chanju Padu Dagi Chishi Jive Sonamji Lasso, tashi tele, showa tele. Chanso, ani namju, pe, tunje zangbo la juk teni. So tiring shina ji la tene. Ya, tunje tezam, tada yuji mari che nambazo. Tene gongge me ba ju, tene ngaso chuzo konambazo ina ta. 가르쳐 그러고 나도 나자 잠블리나 또이 나자 디기 째네 대 다지 그자 망보지 정화 인장 되니 지게 튼지 대소이나 랑산랑산 직 주트야 당 튼지 따다 매바 성장 되니 제나마 좀이 망보지 폐 대세들 다 장만을 대자 직진아 업제 어지리 챙기도 되니 공개 매바죠.
It's better. Yes.
So you're all, I'm sure, used to living at home and having all of the, comfortable conditions, pleasant conditions surrounding you. And now here you've come to the middle of the forest, and maybe you've been finding it a little bit difficult because of not having everything around you or used to having around you. And so I would like to, apologize for that. The thing is that, we've had this long period with the epidemic, the pandemic. And so from the side of the center also, it's been quite difficult to make everything perfect for you. And so, maybe you might have been finding it a bit difficult, one or two aspects of the conditions here, but so anyway, I'm sorry about that, and please don't be upset by that.
Teni ngazo tachi sachu delandawo ina teni ta jidangi 국조라고 be 가지고로 다지 미 런둑 제사 깔래하고 되니 뒤럽 니시사지나 이나 양지 록레시 지 튕진 대점 매바지 니지간에 가진 국조로 아니 이나 양에 전주기 심 특주 자천보 줄라충 돈이다와 줄라충 되니기 때니 너무 다 드데이시다 너무 잡지 소버름 붙인기 되니 톡제다 물론 직뒤 야도 사쿠 롱주 텐데직나라 맞서 사다링보니 미 망보 미 개왕 아니 베 미자치고 망보지 안들라 아니 치드니니 공냠네 제가 배야 되지 아니 코는 뭐지 진압 라야다 톡지 물론 라야디 아니 가서 통출라 다지 좋아 처리하지리스.
Yes, so here we are in the 21st century, and maybe we don't have all of the comfort and the luxury and the conditions that we're used to, but still, actually, if you think about it, due to the bodhicitta of Khyabje Zopa Rinpoche, his compassion, because of his prayers, this place has been possible to come about, and we've been able to put on this really quite amazing event. So, that's really something quite amazing.
So, 당에서 드린 게 최대 나나 당부 심 그놈이하고 직공까지 얘네 다다 단자와 동해만대와 대만대와 심지 타예비 심지 아니 뭐다 주변 거는 심지 망보 지기 가서라 자천보 펜 토요로와 뭐다 주변 거는 뭐습니다 주신 건 그니 미치모스 딱도 또 거기서
That last bit, Khandro-la was saying the ways that he's looking at me with his eyes kind of like, well, I've got a feeling he didn't quite get what I was saying. So anyway, we need to think about our motivation for today, and so thinking how just like oneself, all other sentient beings want happiness, don't want any suffering. So this day, this time we're spending together is in order to, be of benefit to all sentient beings, whether directly or indirectly.
아니 다른 게 최대 근데 아니 소수지고게 강에 체색이 강에 아니지 대화 체색이 대화 천디기 대화 좀 많이 봐 아니 다다 타입의 심전 탐지 네가 이게 대화 터뚝라나 매봐 전주기 공방을 뭐지 톱라야 돼 나와서 뭐 친지 말로 봐 줄제야다 쥐어봐서 뭐 친지 말로 봐 되니 줄제네 아니 터뚝 소소 심진 수술라 강여배지 감 대식님보 딩문도 저토쇼 딩문도 저송아이나 산진이바 인장 산진라에 칠로른도와 매바 인장 안데 참말로 디 심전 탐제네 아니 지 장죽지 공방 라야 돼 아니 ngōshibī tōni mūlam jābāyī pēyā wādwa chāng lāyā tī pē shītib tā nyōndrib tsāma chāng jū yōba tēsū tsāma lōwa āni rāng dāng rāwa simjēn lā tā rāng āni chūp lāli tēnā āni dē chāng gī nikab lā sātā yōndē tēsū jēn āni jī dēwī ngōba jī pārchīn chūk lā sōba kōmbir tōng sim āni zāngbē chū yā jē tāng ngembe cho ane ma meba zone 장고와 인장 되니 추병도 다뚝 심 자침보 돈이 따와 아니 도용도 아니 지나게 최강이와 우리 니지 하고이 토니 아니 자침보직 차기도 와 되니 대기 띵네 아니 딘디게 자침보 디기 띵네 라는 매바지 레용도 따와라는 매바지 레용도 되니 심지어 탐지라 아니 지 제바 지 태양 뉴몬다 만제비 오늘 전에 오연이 저기 제와 아니 전주기 심 탐지라 제와 닝지 전부 아니 시럽다 닝지 종저는 아니 자 전부 지기 제용도 아니 다만 누발라나 매바지 레도 아니 주발레도와 되니 네가 다 타도 뱀이 흔들지 심진라 강라 강도기 그 용수 줘봐 군대발라 그 송대발라 송 아니 툭대발라 툭 연대 틀레 대바 나 쳐발라 무슨 쳐봐 number 샤트비안데 아니 주제 매바 마임바 동분에 아니 나와 친지 말로 와다 줘봐 아니 배 친지 말로 와 자참보 디기 띵네 아니지 랑진 끈도 대 참말로 와 상제주여와 인장 대 시비 토네 아니 심지어 탐지 기탄달라.
Yes. Okay. So in the spirit of our forming our motivation, so we don't form the motivation for oneself alone, just about ourselves, for our own well-being, our own happiness. It's not only about that, just our own happiness and well-being in this life. And so rather, we think myself and all sentient beings for temporary happiness and ultimate lasting happiness. And so in that spirit, we start to, generate the view, the authentic view and the authentic conduct, and establish those in our mind stream. And so actually, all sentient beings have the essence of Buddha within them. Buddha is not something that can be found outside somewhere. And so we aspire that all beings may recognize emptiness, which is their true nature, and through that dispel the obscurations, the cognitive obscurations and the emotional obscurations. And so what we call enlightenment in Tibetan, it's a compound word, jang and chup. And so the jang part, the first part, has the sense of purifying or cleansing. And so what is being purified or cleansed? The cognitive obscurations and the emotional obscurations. They can be cleansed. That's the first part. The second part of the word, the chup, means to expand. And so once we've purified or cleansed, then what is expanded? What can be spread or expanded? It's the qualities, the levels of the path, the bhumis and the qualities, the 6 paramitas. And so all virtuous qualities, such as the 6 paramitas, are increased or expanded. All non-virtuous, problematic aspects are reduced. And so finally, when we speak about where this ultimately leads, it leads the mind to a very vast frame, the realization of the view of emptiness. And so then with that, we can understand the actual reality of all outer and inner phenomena. We can come to understand the true nature, the underlying reality of all outer and inner phenomena. So through that very precious kind of understanding, we can arrive at what's called the unsurpassed view. And through that, we can also generate true loving kindness. The view, the loving kindness that is never separate from the view, that cannot be divided from the view. So loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, that whole side. And so in brief, our prajna, our insight or wisdom, becomes unified or indivisible with our compassion. And so prajna or wisdom and compassion become indivisible or unified. And through that, we also arrive at what's called unsurpassable capacity or power. And that then, has the capacity to bring temporary and ultimate happiness. This is achieved in an effortless way, effortless and spontaneous way. And so for those who desire enlightened form, who wish for enlightened form, there's enlightened form. For those who yearn for enlightened speech, one presents enlightened speech. For those who yearn for the enlightened mind is displayed. And so basically, for all sentient beings, we generate the unsurpassable view and the unsurpassable conduct. This is very precious and important. And so for a few minutes, please settle the mind into this kind of motivation. And so this certainty or confidence that we have towards the Dharma, this is not just for this life, this is not just for oneself alone, it is for all sentient beings. The happiness, the well-being of all sentient beings. And so in that way, please generate the bodhicitta in the mind.
나서 되는다 그런데 넘버 타봐 되게 토네 당에서 가서 단절녀가 저라 쳔메다 바서라 데스 돌링 제 개와 상부 충성 데 드링 다 제 레전드 나네 당보 남자티 간에 대해서 졸랭체나 체서.
Nasana. And so, with that kind of completely pure motivation, we continue. And so, remaining in that motivation, so we got a small opportunity to discuss the freedoms and advantages of the precious human birth, and a little bit about the impermanence of life yesterday. And so today, I thought we could begin by discussing the karmic causality a little bit.
Le junjige namshade hallebi ting zabo jachembo tokawa. Da ngunjurda kokjur tusumge nisuyngane hallebi karsoro tachi domjeb kabuzirwa.
And so the full presentation of karmic cause and effect, of the principle of karmic causality, is amazingly profound, amazingly vast, and very difficult to realize. Some aspects are observable, some are hidden or concealed. And so it's very difficult to understand all of it.
Perazana ngatsususola jik lenje da jik karzoro da jewa ngamche le junje laya mambuji that's simnala ane ngunjinchi kabutere yungdwa.
So as an example of this, for each of us individually, this issue of karmic result, this issue of karmic ripening, karmic causality, and for example, how it plays out in the continuity of consciousness in lifetime after lifetime. So I would think that for many of us, it's a little bit difficult to recognize that, isn't it?
다 이나야 맞서기 니리 초아노라 아니 서바 동에 라야디 되게요 말에 링가 저지 냥교요래 정확하게 요래 서바 대화줘야지 팀북이 대화 니제 봐이 좋아지카게 요래 링가 저 되게요래 가게 요래.
However, we all have our direct experience. And so, when it comes to suffering, this is not something unavailable to us. Suffering is something we directly experience. We have the taste in our mouth of suffering, and happiness as well. This is a direct experience for us. We all know pleasure and happiness. We also have had that taste, and we want that. We need that. We want that.
지름 될 때는 다 초바 대화라야 돼야. 주매바 찌매바 간에 용시야면도 주진 겐드네 용시야면도 주진 튼병안에 서로 대화. 주단 찐 튼병안에 대화지. 주단 찐 튼병안에 동행지. 디코 답에 물 실룩 코랑 물보기 코랑기 실룩 랑지 저스레.
So we think about what we call the experience of happiness or well-being. Happiness and well-being don't just arise without causes and conditions. They don't just come from nowhere. They also don't arise when the causes and conditions are not correct for it to arise. The wrong kinds of causes and conditions coming together don't produce happiness, joy, and well-being. when the causes and conditions are correct for it, when they're harmonious for that, then the result appears of happiness or joy or well-being. And so it's when causes and conditions come together in the correct way, then there's happiness. Or when the right causes and conditions come together, suffering appears in that way. And so this is like the basic nature of how things work. This is just the underlying reality.
Yang rangji la di tani de yang josa mabuziero.
So this term, rangshin, which we translate as nature, that has many different applications and senses, doesn't it?
다 주쟁기 니중안에 코랑 장에 랑지 용거래 슬라야 돼. 아니지. 강다라 동바 띵중기 된다. 띵중 동배 된기 니중안에 디 랑지디 용거래.
So, for example, we can use the term nature when we're talking about good and bad causes and conditions and how they function. So one application of this concept or term nature is in that context. And we can also use the word nature when we're talking about emptiness and dependent arising, emptiness and interdependence, interdependence being empty, emptiness being interdependent. That's also a time to use the word nature.
Le layandi le sababota leda an le chawada de chamalo rangji tongbani yinjang ane ko le sababo yore jumatsut ane le yore jumatsutu zangi ane cheba chawa cheba bo yonsu zoba juma dawitsut juma sena ane kora temba madroba 동니 이 띵네 아니 남샤 동반니 이 띵네 남샤 샷대와지 아니 되네 그 대송장다 동니디 ngopsheyongdu 아니 준제라야 돼다 메시 잡고 쉬우지요 봐 차지 차와 러와 매봐 아니지 강미다 강투 가투민다 저디 다 네가 타투 꼭줄 니줄 마무지 여바 이나 양 아니 주체발라 아니 데부 여바 타주지 아니 게비 로이지 게와사얀졸라 아니 지 소소기 튠비초 디즈디 로메와 여데와 아니 저와 대와 여데와 아니 동행기 아니 주트드데 아니 사데와이나 아니 디에 아니 톱 드브 미안테양 루바메와 거랑게 아니 가르쳐고다 지 뒤다 니가 카발라이나 루바메와지 자용도 탄데 싹사 라야당 작사 라야데 지 가르쳐고다 수수이 박샤 라야데 심기 띵라 랑 투비 로이 심기 띵라 인데게 게티게 레사사 요바지 자와지 거용거도 나디 모셔야데 백 기준부 인사로와
맞습니다. So then when we speak about karma, you know, we have, for example, the one who accumulates the karma, the accumulator of the karma. And then there's also the action itself, the karmic act, you know. And so the nature of these all, both the one who creates the karma, the action itself, the nature of all of that is emptiness. And so we can come to understand that the one who creates the karma and the karma itself, the action, engaging the causes and conditions, be it good or bad, to create a karmic situation. All of that, the one who creates it, the action itself, whether good or bad, is also illusion, illusory. And to say that something is illusion or illusory, it is saying that is not actually tangibly true and real. It is not actually really true, real and solid. And therefore, it is said to be the nature of emptiness. And so it is said that when emptiness is really recognized, then cause and effect, one's understanding and appreciation for cause and effect becomes very, very profound. One starts to see cause and effect in a very profound way. And it becomes extremely subtle, the working of causality. We also see it as unfailing. And there's so many elements that can be seen then. How ripening occurs, the manner in which karmic ripening may occur, many things that are hidden, many things that are actually visible and apparent, the results of things. So all of those things can be seen. And so, for example, when we talk about how results appear, if the right conditions, the conducive conditions of virtue are put into place, then in an unfailing way, some kind of happiness or well-being will be the result. And conversely, in the case of the causality of suffering, if we gather the causes and conditions that are conducive to produce suffering, then through the power of cause and effect, the result ripens in an unfailing way as well. So this ripening of suffering, it depends on each circumstance, it depends on various conditions, but it is unfailing. And so when we talk about where is karma accumulated, where are, where is the accumulation of karma occurring? We talk about it in terms of imprints in the mind, which is our own confused mind. That's where it occurs. That's where karma is accumulated. And so it is very important that that is understood and recognized.
대성장 저 레이 깨자다 주 겐기 깨자시디 지 최레라니 로스 마임바 맞추 코육 니레 초아 미지 초아나라 되니 롱 주심바 나라 아니 자와디 장에데 이와 제시나 뱀미시 개천보인스러와 랑기 코육다 초아람 제바 메비 토네 로하직 취시에 대바이나 대양 대야 딱다제 용그 말아와
랑길레
코육탄 초아
코육탄 초아 가가이나 로바이나
말에 랑기 코육탄 초아라 튠바 마도 취라야 돼 델레 록스 취라야 요 말했다이나
When we talk about karma and the causes and conditions, for bringing about this and that experience. If we, it's not so useful if we see it as something separate from our lives and the environment that we're living in. So it's good to think about it, actually in connection with our environment and our lived experience.
저 튠비고네 안에 가서기 초바 대화다 초바 동일라야 돼. 저 튠비고네 용거래 닝기야 돼. 저진 튠비고네 아니 중국어래 시고요. 초바 대화 저진 튠비고네 용거래.
So the experience of happiness or well-being comes from conducive causes and conditions for the experience of happiness.
가서기 코육 죽줄 깜분이 좋다. 릭대서기 제준 튠비 추네. 제준데 제 코랑 튠비가는 제와이나? 아니 디 레가 제와. 가시 아니 베라지나 로더브지나 폴로다 몰로. 라고다 가딘지다 다간다 긴드 니여와. 가서기다 간이 폴로 몰로 라지러와. 탑다 시럽 저우지 라지르. 이나양 디 페주 제교지 말이 식대. 다 가르주고로지. 베라지나 로더웨이나 코라니 제직 투송아이나 아니 겐도임 때발라 아니 카가체네 양 직 냠둘라 십고야지도 양 되니 직 매송아이나 아니 야로 빠리야메와 가시코니 드레송나 양 직도야 디 종제체야지도
Oh yeah. So as an example of in the environment as well, the world around us, we can see how these principles function. So, in the use of substances, of materials in the world as well, these principles function. So, as an example, like electricity, we have the positive and the negative, aspects of wiring something together. And it's in the Tibetan, they call it the male and the female line, but in any case, it's like the positive and the negative. And so it needs to be wired in the perfect way for it to work. If they're, separated too much, nothing happens. The electrical circuit is not complete and we have no electricity. And if you touch it together in the wrong way, then it burns. So it has to be present together in the correct, unified way, in a conducive way, and then electricity works.
테나지지 사릭게 주름도지나 베라지나 제인도이나 아니 사벤 지보여나 제 자기면도 아니 딜라 가서로 사 아니 룽 아니 대제사 매 가서 다 간다 중아지 튠바징안에 제데 지그여와 중아지 가시 최대 망잖아 사벤데 르도리 가시 최대 용잖아 사벤데 깜조리 망르 렘바직 토네 야추 망르 렘바 저 망르 렘바 룽 망르 렘바 직바 직장 레도와 아니 덴데기 중실라이나 고아 강실라 렘바지 대기 토네 아니 뒤줄에 잼베 아니 고 데브데야 미야 유지 주 가시 주디 사변데 매바이나 양 중아 지데 양 사변데 제기 말아봐 초 나스 정고도
라스라 쪽나 라스 주다 중시
젠
라스
다 주진
라스 So then we have, for example, also in the case of like, farming or agriculture, like a crop, like rice, for example. So if we just have a rice seed only, then nothing will happen. Just a rice seed on its own. That's like the cause. And then for the conditions, of course, we need earth, we need fresh air, we need warmth, we need water, and so on. The 4 elements, essentially, in the right kind of balance. And when those conditions come together, then we can get a rice plant. If we have, for example, let's just take the case of water. If we have too much water in that coming together, then the seed gets rotten. If we have too little water, the seed dries out. So it needs just the right amount of water. And the same is the case with warmth. The same is the case with air, and so on. All of them require just the right amount or balance. And so if the 4 elements are present in this way, in a balanced way, then gradually and at the right time, the result manifests, the result ripens, which is the rice plant. And so the cause is like the seed. So if we don't have the cause, if we don't have a rice seed to begin with, but then we have all the other 4 elements, then also nothing's going to happen. And so we need the cause and the conditions. So in this case, it's like 5 things coming together, the seed and the 4 elements.
테나지 잘라 창만로와 테니 코랑기 제 창고야지 테니 제진바치기 님발 창네 데 칼레 젠치니기 양 가시 좀네 제네 창만로와 용되고요와 tumbi cho inanda chi karzo tanga zo goya inanda tene mako ai rik zo ina ane ngazo gogi mena mako rik zo ze karesha tanga zo tonan chi ya yaku shu zile ro ngazo dongen de mendo na dongen ze karesha dongen ju karesha ju di ze karesha ze de la long ju ikabla ngazo gi kulong karechi기도 kunju karesha. Digi tone, dene ngazo dongen di ngozi yahwa zi xie songwa ina, ti pangdu yilo, dende legiroa. De nangji zangbyo cho, deyang darang rawa, ale ngembati lada.
So this is the same situation for all things. It's like that. All things to manifest, to appear, require the constituent parts, the substances, the ingredients to be complete for anything to manifest. The complete set of conditions. And so then, if we understand that, then, we can gather them together. And so, just some things gathered together isn't enough. We need all the conditions to be complete. We can think of it in terms of conducive conditions that we need and conditions that are unneeded, that we don't want. Conditions to, that are necessary and conditions that are not needed. So we can look at the situation in that way. And we need to take interest in this, subject. So for example, we have suffering. So we have to ask, what is the raw material of suffering? What is like the substance that brings it? What is the cause? What is the ingredients of the cause of our suffering. You know, how is this affected by our motivation? How does this interact with our behavior, our action? And so then if we examine suffering in this way and we understand the causality of suffering, the mind that wants to let go or get rid of suffering can actually be generated. So the same applies also for the good side or the virtuous side.
Dinaji ngazo perazna lui junga chödengi junga dawrzina. Deni ngazo junga jiti truksonga ina. Ane ko madewatsi chayon korwa. Ta tela shibcha san dangwa ina. Ta ngazo lega mambo che. Ngazo junga la lung karzo korda. 룽기 캄 배주 당당 중아 이러와 다니 강치 룽시라 용사매와 니만 강라 다지 레갈레살라 치릉 하고야 다 참참 데레 룽파 직 최대행안에 룽사바 최대행 룽닝바 아니 파테양 데레 용기도와 데 이나양 강다르 지당기 콜죽 랑중기 룽시라 로서 메발라 되는 거 주지 난기 룽디 같이 쪽바차로도와 룽 쪽바차 텔레 되는 가서 내가 뭐뭐 아니 룽 같이 쪽바차 뒤주기 되는 거 주기 류기 매장위 중고디 배제 당야 뭐지 룽기 제거여와 대송장 룽데 쪽바차와 뒤주기 되는 거죠. 난기 그바 망볼라 침바 되니 베르즈나 니 만당원도이나 안 뒤주 렘발라 니 거야 아니 룽 사바 거야 뒤주 베르즈나 가서 중화지 친 중화지 대야양 가져로다 양낭이 중화라지 고템이야 뒤주도와 대송장 가서 뒤주 렘바 가와지나 잠블링 아니 강다르 제모 주주 고반에 쇼게 아니 주주 순박이 룽되게 아니 니디게 가서 쉬어지 핑거로 다 가서 니디 마고와 제와이나 아니 종아 룽다 매다 저 마모직 고라 인장 응아주게 주본 주 냠줘야 되니 탕체로야 강에 치료시 사과요 여바이나 강에 직 나니 치기도와 네 니마호와 된 니마고와이나 룽디 마 침네 고 왕보 마부지 니쿨 종알헬 샤그로와 아니 왕보 락바기 되니 공회 왕시지 셰바테즈데 이지 셰바카라 바 니갑지 팀도 걸어와 내가 저랑 와요 말이야 슬라이나 따디 팀기 뒤주 대가랑하고 딱따지 팀 니고로와 니 따다 매나 종아 죽로야 내 나지
뭔가 so we can also take as an example our body, the health of our body, and consider it in terms of the four elements. And so when the four elements are disturbed in our constitution, we're uncomfortable. We lack well-being. This is something that we can consider in a very subtle way. So we do, there's a lot of work we do around trying to balance the four elements. And so, for example, what's called the wind element, lung, or prana. And so, there's outer wind or outer prana, and then there's also the inner wind or the inner prana. And so, wherever we are, the wind isn't constant. Even the outer wind, sometimes it's fresh, sometimes it's stale, sometimes it moves, sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't come. The outer wind is always changing. And based on that condition and the interaction with our own inner constitution, our inner wind or our prana can become like dirty.
Yeah.
Like dirty. And so, however dirty it gets, then, we can try to, clean it out with various exercises, and breathing, the yearning for fresh air and things like that. And then it affects also the internal organs after some time. If we're not able to clear away this kind of dirty or stale prana or wind, so then it affects the liver, right? It affects the liver. It can cause conditions like taking a long time to fall asleep, and the need for fresh air, this urgent need for fresh air, things like that. And so, for example, of course, there's different time zones all over the world, but wherever one is, especially the time period between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. particularly is a time when the fresh prana being kind of exchanged is natural and very beneficial to sleep during that time and exchange our energy. If we're not able to sleep, if we don't take that opportunity to sleep during that time between 9 and 3, then we can the inner environment of our body can become disturbed. Our body can kind of the prana, the energy can become like diminished. We can become exhausted and tired, and it also cause many other internal problems, such as inability to sleep and many things. And so we have to also learn how to relax the elements in the body. So, for example, when we fall asleep, the coarse sense consciousnesses dissolve into the mental consciousness. And that very moment when the coarse sense consciousnesses dissolve into the mental consciousness, we fall asleep. And if we don't fall asleep at that time when that's supposed to happen, it's like our sleep becomes disturbed and we're kind of unable to sleep.
Teni nga so kukta do so mareta mungda khandis dengre ane tanga ni kugumedu nimesa kugudu ane ta chen la yang manyene chilola ba chamjam 줘야 저래 들이다가 딱 강달 지 탑시 처음엔 주든지 제와이나 꼭다래도 다 남상 가르쭉 가래 쓸라나 니 마고가 돼 가래 쓸라나 아니 가시 첸라 록레나라 고주 동암 체모 ngani 니기 내가 맞지 첸라 내가 첸 니지 내가 다 임버로 니다 내가 추츠가 와니 주바바돈 잠불링기 로당리와 또그 거기로와 이나양 텔레 젬베 더바 따바침보 더바침보 디게 아니 록레 나라 아니 수수다 더바 직자만저이레 다 죽자 제로 강다를 내가 톱자 랑기 톱자 랑기 대지 체들라 아니 빠 록레 나라 때문에 내가 레야 이나라 되니 지룩 제와 이나라 갈 총지 총이 지룩 제와 이나라 근데 나네 랑기 니 마고가 돼 랑기 속이 여바데 하 마고와지 랑기 다 야보 지다와 이나 뒤추 칼라 니 되니 추야보 통 아니 칼라 최대 이제 칼라 디사 하장 마음 맞아 하장 용 맞아 그러와 되니 베라즈나 총이 지룩 개야 되주다 건다마 니나 단니 그거 말을 콩알이 치자 코찬로서리 나디 톱 거기에 다 대차 세당 차도 낙심 느심 당아 롱주 첨보여 딩이 낭미기 체 투기여나 짱 투기여나면나 디직체나 디라 녀크라 용거리 직체나 녀크라 다 강해여나 네 강해데 가르쳐가 때네 탑 가르쳐거래 많이네 아니 제대로 랑녀래다 아니 수고 대원매와 아니 롱치 백엔 숨슬라는 유모 톡숨대야 펜네 유모 톡숨대 파 쩌러 아니 난기 유모 톡숨대야 페 차마뇽 되네 셈마지바 콘로 아니 셈나라 서로와 그래래 서로와 징난 첨보 아니 셈 줌보 셈 줌대와 빠 줌보 되니 강젠 강 난기 침장 보고 아니 족보 종모 라양 된다 매발라 콘드라양 식 청중지게 아니 빠 녀크라 침부죠 디 참말로와 가르치고래랑 되지요래 랑기 아니 대바 침부디 동해 침부 저기도와 대바 침부디 동해 침부 가시 너바데 톱송아이나 너바데 톱송아이나 랑 왕보 너바데 롱주 투야지 자와 매바 저차래 너바 롱주 마보 여바이나 랑 초와당 대와지야데 당부 섬당 그러와 데이나 너바 침부 마치 딱다 제니 아니 쌈노 니야보고 추통 되니 칼라 아니 마치야 공다 칼라 마자바체 강뉴뉴사 되니 류제제 되니 낭밀라 제와 제 서바체 닝제체 락섬체 조부조몰라 대가랑 제 들지와이나 랑베 되지 빼침보여로와
Nice. Nice. Kosuk
야 기억나네
So we can talk about sort of the sign of our foolishness. The measure of our foolishness can be seen in this area. So, we think, I can't sleep. I'm going to take something. I'm going to take some sleeping medicine or something like that. Maybe nighttime is a good time to get up and wander around, drive around. Maybe we think like that. This is sort of like a measure of our foolishness. Actually, we should be looking at what is the fault here? You know, what is the error? You know, and so one, for example, that error that we might have is involves like our screens, our computers, and so on. And so, you know, looking at the computer through the night. So of course we have to use computers and so on during the day for our work. We all know we have to work for sure. Maybe we work from 9 to 5 or whatever. But then after our day's work is done, then in the night as well, you know, we also stare at the computer or stare at the TV or whatever. Why do we do that? We have some kind of desire, something that we're wishing for. Many desires come when we stare at our computers and our screens. Enticing forms and sounds and images and tastes and so on. And so maybe, you know, maybe we're watching a show. Maybe we're trying to do some more work at night. Maybe we're, you know, counting up our business at the end of the day to see what we've got, what we've earned. And in any case, it leads us to not being able to sleep. And the reason why we do these is to get something. We want some kind of joy, satisfaction, or happiness. That's our reason for, you know, looking at the computer or the screen or whatever. And so actually, if we examine the situation properly, we can see what's necessary, taking care of our health properly, the right amount of water, being hydrated, eating the right amount of food, nutritious food, not too much food, not too little food. And so we can take care of ourselves if we put attention into it. But then often, you know, we just lie there in bed and we can't sleep and our mind is spinning and churning around. Oh, you know, that person might get an advantage over me. I have to figure out how to deal with that. And, oh, it'd be wonderful if I could get this thing. Yeah, I should figure that out. And then, you know, the mind spins and generates attachment and anger and aversion and animosity and ill will and delusion. And then we start to worry, maybe this problem's going to happen. Maybe this bad thing's going to happen. What can I do? If that bad thing did happen, what would I be able to do about it? So we spin around on that too. And so it's like we can go crazy like that. We can make ourselves crazy. And then that also disturbs the body, disturbs the constitution of the body. So we have these, three doshas, for what they're called, humors, phlegm, bile, and wind. So there are the three humors of the doshas, phlegm, bile, and wind, are associated with the root afflictive emotions. And so those get disturbed, and then also our emotions keep growing. So also then we can get into anxiety. We can start getting anxious, fearful. And we can also have the experience of being discouraged, very discouraged, and kind of end up depressed. And, you know, when we have these kinds of experiences, these kinds of feelings, then, you know, we find ourselves getting angry, like for almost no reason. with our family, with our children, with our partners. They say some little tiny thing to us and becomes a big problem. And so actually, we all trying to get some kind of joy and happiness, but through big desire, we're creating big problems. Through our big desires, we create big problems. And so, you know, even if we get what we wish for, even when we get the desires that we wish for, then it's like we've already got it immediately. You know, it doesn't even last, the joy. So when we look at our experience, you know, we don't need to seek such extremes, so many extreme things. We should be able to just have a balanced lifestyle, the right amount of sleep, the right amount of water, the right amount of food, you know, a little bit of exercise, you know, settling down in the evening, love within the family, patience within the family, compassion, kind of magnanimous, benevolent kind of attitude. And so if we can do that, then we have a lot of peace and happiness in life.
세상 ngazugi chu zhubya yin nanda, jikden zhubya yin nanda, ta subuti ju rungbu zi tsuayi tabshi chigurwa.
So in any case, whether we're talking about, you know, accomplishing the Dharma, accomplishing our spiritual path, or whether we're talking about success and accomplishment in the world, in worldly things, we need the body. We need the body to last for a long time. We need to take care of the body also.
다 주튠바세나 지 니 만다와 이게 다 니차 돼야 되라 니 고로와 니 만다나 다 니 쿠나 주튠제 소소 니 쿠야게 돼 레그로와 추뇽도나 되네 추 마르다나 데 주튠바로와 당아 니 만다위 강에 찍네 때메 사야라 소바당 칼라 사야 로야 조라이나 좀 마듀와 되네 디기 니 마쿠가기 튜쇼로야디 야소 두고 말아 주튠 마소 됐선다 가츠이게 주보델라이나 nga르모 큐르모 되니 가르조르다 ngo체이리 큐이리 다지 용수 저봐 고고여로 난데라 고기도와 맞죠 데 많이 셔송난 가서 추로도와 티코 고야디 하고 그래데 가리 거기 여바데 싫어 하고 그러면도 제장 가리 거면데 암지지 시고여와 다 제장 가서 주당 가서 체리서 보데 가와 나기도 가르치는 나기도 돼 가서데 주체리데 가리 사고래다 가리 둥그래 라야디 가서 도나요 말와 대 암지지 다치랑 아니지 용차샤 지 만차샤 안데르데르라네 그 암지지 zubuji kamda bebe ane men desde ko rembo ndaze yorwa da yinalang de samalo jutumba chegodowa jutumbingane dogdode jutusongayina de ji amjiji ngane membala menju chegona tumbingane chebayina ane me yapotre nele chol 아니 제사에 샵주체나 주튠빙원의 제나 배 주젠데도 튠송아이나 배 야보차 가시 주진 틱스 마튠바이나 아니 내가 야보여바이나 마음바 야보차 그면도 주 마튠마세는 데레
Lasula. So basically, we're talking about the conducive causes and conditions. And so let's say we have an issue with sleep, not enough sleep. Then a condition that is conducive to helping that problem would be to sleep. Or if our problem was one of dehydration, then the conducive condition to benefit our dehydration would be to drink more water. And so, in the case of, so the right kind of conducive condition benefits the situation. And so, for example, let's say we're not able to sleep, but we think or we act in a way of like, oh, I think I'm going to go eat in the middle of the night, or maybe I'll get up and I'll go around and wander around and do stuff in the nighttime. That's not a conducive condition to benefiting the problem, which is inability to sleep or lack of sleep. So because we're not employing the conducive condition for that issue, then the methods that we're using, eating or wandering around, doesn't restore us, doesn't refresh us. And so it's like that with everything. So for example, these different flavors, sweet, sour, anyway, bitter and something else. Salty and stringent and bitter. And we need all of them. We need all of those flavors, but we're not sure how to get them or in what balance. So we know, it's like we know what we need. We know that we need them, but we don't know what we need. We just know that we need something, but we don't know what we need. It's like that. So then we think, the doctor knows. I'm going to go see the doctor. Then, we go and we present ourselves to the doctor, and the doctor says, where is the problem? And, what's going on? What's wrong with you? What kind of sickness do you have? And maybe the doctor says, what are you eating? What do you eat? Maybe the doctor might give us some advice. I think you're eating too much of this. I think you're eating too little of that. Perhaps we get some advice based on the constitution of the body. Maybe they give us some medicine. Maybe, it's a medicine we need to keep taking for a long time. In brief, the point here has to do with conducive conditions, conducive circumstances. And so even in the case of seeing a doctor, receiving treatment from a doctor, if the treatment contains the conducive conditions that are beneficial for our situation, then the good result will come, whatever kind of treatment it is. Maybe it's a surgery that is necessary. And if a surgery happens to be the right conducive condition for our illness, then there can be a good result, a very good result from that surgery. However, even if a little bit of the conditions are not conducive in the course of a treatment, whatever kind of treatment it is, then there may be some temporary benefit, but further on down the road, there'll be problems because the conditions weren't totally conducive for that treatment. So we need to put attention to conducive conditions.
당아저 대상 수수수수기 강달 다지 베르지나 조조 저이나 암지 저이나 오네지나 암지 당부직 수수 수수로 수수 누구디 수수 주체슈래 아주 냐라 저거디 땅 아주 뇽바 저치네 디기 팽기레 디기 너그레세레 디기 팽기레 체레 라네 매 드라만라 아네 다 총이 내줄란 드라만라 디기 톱제 디기 샤감 디기 샤딱라야다 다 한다 드라만라 디 체그레 디 야고 체그레 디게 아니 샤감도 땅그레 디 뺨메시 야고요레 샤감부 땅그레스 메사그레 디 가래요 디는 가래요 지하고 샤감부 땅은 수수 공다 칼라 맞잖아 샤감부 임바르와 까무 드라 임바레 공다 칼라 맞잖아 산지 좀 된디지 진질라비요레 공조 칼라 맞아 소연데 아니 작바차나 가서 치료다 샥즈다 차다 망보게 욕자 좋아 인자 어디 감보 마소 송거도와 당 가서 드링 zubo디 수수 단다랑 수수 이 드링 zubo디 녀베 저르트 녀차 잡니 녀조 저르 칼라디아 녀기레 제레 칼라디아 자초면도 칼라디지 야고디 야고레세 디 마레세 미젠라 삼노 짱짱 당고도 미젠 그래 틴디리샤 나저기 최대 나저기 삼노 나저기 저저 언디스 차려도 나서 시럽 다지 못 가려래 말에 가래 내기도 나서 하고 그러 칼라 나서 사르와다 나서 니만 가시사 나 칼라이 가리 있는 거 가서 하고 그래 때 맛은 뒤로 아니 나다 디 강들 소소 나네 전에 나네 가리기 있는 데 약슈데 소소 하고 그래 디 소소 이게 당돌낸 거로 디 하고 해야 돼 하고 해야 돼 시럽 디 표주단 거로 다 베르지는 가서 지 더바치모 등암기 나차다 나차 등암 침부 심 줌바다 심 줌바 등암 침부에 가서라 녀크라 뭐부지 제요 리심라 아 등암 침부에 등암 야 등암 데파맘보 ngamra ngam dige ngasola si majiba mambodoa tene yang nga zi ta la gomna la majik den tit gangi nga gangi mambodu pe nga gangi parchue mendo chigi ne patang mendo ane la majik la ene chapten 가르쳐 그래 ane nga 가리 장나 가그래 다 대바지 강인데 nga 장나 간디스 팽그래 nga 장 람니 뒤에 족사오라서 nga 님바 매만 말해 거네 뱀시 nga라나 자샤지 이제요 소소 데바디 다최 땜바이나 데바디 하장체로는 누구를 받고 시럽 배주 당시에나 야, 나 데바이지 역지치도 시럽 배주 당나 최대로 최선대래 최라나 최고로 가서 시럽디 가와이나 배주 당에도 제장 최대 가와이나 제도 맞 수수이 최대인가라 최시는 최대냐고 제시를 때는 강다 시럽디 배주는 데바 나랑 라 토바이나 나랑 시수나 띠 나랑 이 톱차디 가르피엔토 그래 처음에도 그냥 찍도 와 then 되니 소수기 데바델라 논주임바 랑기 찍보이 전화기 데바데 논주임바 아니비 샘전 탐지지 전도 주연조진 데바데 짜침물이 양 데바데 라고 열다 아유.
됐어. So these days, I feel it's like each one of us also, in the end, we need to be our own doctor. The best doctor in the end is ourself. We're our own best doctor. You know, in our body, what we have, this form, is like one of the greatest treasures we have. And so what is really beneficial for us? What is actually harmful for us? It's like, we know that also. And these days, you know, there's so many like medicines and supplements, and some make you thinner, and some make you stronger, and some make you wider, and some make you skinnier, and some make you this, and some make you that. There's so many medicines and supplements, and people say so many things about it. Oh, this one's really good. This one's definitely it's gonna help you lose weight. Oh, no, you need to take this one. It's gonna make you bigger and stronger. Oh, no, this one, it's really, really good for losing weight. It's just a really good medicine. No, that one's bad medicine. There's so many things everyone's saying to us all the time. And then, you know, we know, though, like, let's say we happen to have a few extra pounds for overweight. We know that this causes strain and stress on our health. We know that it affects our cholesterol. We know it affects our blood sugar, our blood pressure. We know that it creates many problems in the body. And, you know, also, it's probably the case that if we eat less in the evening, it might benefit the situation. This is also one great kindness of the Buddha. He pointed out and instructed his followers to not eat in the evening, or eat less in the evening, and so on. So, you know, this issue of good and bad, this is good, that's bad, don't do this, do that. All these instructions and advice from other people, it's like they have our nose between their fingers, and they're just leading us around. In many areas, health and work and medicine and so many different areas, we're just following the advice of others. But actually, we have our own intelligence. We have our own wisdom. We have our own prajna. We know somehow what's best for us. And so, you know, we have to use our own understanding and accept, you know, take our own advice, use our own understanding, accept that we have our own internal wisdom. In other words, we have to use our own prajna. We have to use our own insight and wisdom. And so, you know, some people, for example, they struggle with like excessive desire, greed and lust and excessive desire. Or maybe they struggle with fear and anxiety. Or maybe they struggle with discouragement and depression. In any case, all of these things create a lot of unhappiness in the mind. And so then they think, oh, okay, I need to say mantras. A lot of mantras. I need to meditate. You know, and of course, you know, we think, I have so many problems. I have so many problems. I have so many obstacles. I need to clear my obstacles. And then they go to the Lama and say, what puja do I need to do? What mantra do I need to do? But, you know, if we go into, I mean, if the problem is desire, excessive wanting stuff, wanting things, or excessive desire, how is mantra going to benefit that in that mind state? It's actually pretty hilarious to think about that. You know, to think that it would benefit. And I'm not saying mantra is bad. I have extraordinary trust in the power of mantra. I'm just saying that we have to look at our own desire, at our own wishes with our prajna, with our own wisdom and intelligence. We have to using our prajna, using our insight or our wisdom is the Dharma. The Dharma must transform something. The Dharma is about transformation. The Dharma is about using prajna or using wisdom. In any area, we can apply our wisdom, our insight to any area of life. Our health, for example, we can use our own intelligence and insight to transform our own health, our condition. And use it. You know, let's say our issue is a lot of desire, a lot of wanting so many things. Then we can use our prajna or insight about that and examine it. When I die, what benefit is going to come from all these things that I want? And we can come to see that our desire, these wishes, these wants that we have are like a fault. You know, it's a fault if we want things just for ourselves. But if we want things for all sentient beings, for limitless sentient beings, then there's many wonderful wishes and desires for their sake.
Ane le chepa pota le nyang nyen sama ta trubai gi ni chu nyumombe ni chu ngane ta tinde je doa ta kanda tawa chinji lo ba choba chinji lo do de tawa chinji malo ba ta choba chinji malo ba gi ni jawa karesha chinji lo wi gi korba karesha ding zo rimbe droning chago ta tanda te jawo.
That's all. So all of this, all of what we've been discussing is a description of confusion, confused karma, the karma of confusion, all of this. And so, you know, the one who, you know, engages in good and bad, the one who accumulates karma, the one who, the action itself, the actor, the action, all of it, all of that karma is confusion. It all unfolds within the domain of the kleshas, of the afflictive emotions. And that's the situation that we're in. That's a description of the situation of confusion. And in that, we have like incorrect view or understanding, and we engage in incorrect conduct or behavior. So then there's also correct view, and there's also correct conduct, undistorted view and undistorted conduct. So what are they? What is the undistorted view? What is the undistorted conduct? So this is something we can gradually look into. So now we'll take a break.
Chanju simju rinpo je ma je bana je 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 wa nya ba me ba kone kondo pe bare shu ke ban de ji wo ge sonam ye je so so sonam ye je le jong ba tham ba ko ni tho bare shu kamar re man me Juma zubu churu dam melam lo dan jindo dije chunam de darada. Sanjanda medam baba ye daga jinda jabare jo. Jena mendalaga ne andaya me Khandro-la gurve jengane penda deva malin jome Cherenzuwa dinzi jazo e jabe siti pardo tenjuru
just before everyone goes for lunch, can I have everyone's attention, please? So I live at Lamas Oprimshi's house in Aptos, which is about 20 minutes from here, Cachodechin line. And for those, especially those of you, particularly those of you who have come from out of town, if you would like to visit Rimshi's house during this period of teachings, the house will be open this evening and tomorrow between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. I'm going to leave the address at the registration table with Romy and the other staff. So if you need the address, it's about a 20-minute drive from here. So you'll basically have to leave just after the teaching. And I encourage you all to carpool because we'll have limited parking. Maybe we can fit 8 to 10 cars in there. So, and it's only 2 evenings you're able to visit. So again, it's mainly, if I can ask, it's mainly for people who are out of town, who haven't been to Rimshi's house before, or they haven't been for many years, you know, to come today at 5 to 6:30 and tomorrow between 5 and 6:30, just to, yeah, visit the house at that time. Anything else in it? Is that it? Did I miss something? Okay. Okay, thank you.